JJ McCarthy had quite a pro day. And so much so that he's going to climb up draft boards, and teams like the Vikings and Raiders that had their eyeballs on this guy, they're not going to be able to get him at 12 and 13, 14, 11, where these teams are picking. So it's going to get interesting. But I think we also need to pump the brakes a little bit too, because Penix Jr., you got Bo Nix, you got a lot of other pro days still to come, and it always seems every pro day is better than the next one. And I think a lot of people are they're putting the cart in front of the horse on this one a little bit. But he's exciting. He's a good quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be top 5, 6, 7. I don't think he's an elite quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. Could he be Jared Goff good? Could he be Kirk Cousins good, which was clearly good enough for JJ prior? Yeah, he could be that good. He could be that good. And Harbaugh loves him so much, you got to think this feeds into the idea that maybe this man potentially will just kick the tires on a what if we took him and traded Herbert to the Minnesota Vikings. I know everyone's going to say that's crazy and wild, but it's something that's been on my mind from the beginning of all this. When we keep hearing Harbaugh talk him up, Harbaugh's super excited about this kid, and he has such a good pro day, and Harbaugh wanting to make this team his own, and Harbaugh making decisions that don't necessarily align with what UI or anybody else would do, like bring in Barkley, bring in Jacobs, bring in Henry. He instead brings in Gus Bus. The GM talked today about Gus Bus being the workhorse running back. Gus is the bell cow, the workhorse. The GM said the finisher. So it will be crazy, but it's going to be so fun and interesting to see where all these guys bounce around. I am not by any means a JJ McCarthy hater. I know a lot of people think I'm too low on him, and admittedly, maybe I am. I don't know. We'll have to see, but I'm not going to let a pro day. This guy's always looked good in videos throwing the football, doing jump throws, like 360s and throws. Those things don't impress me as much as they impress a lot of people. Look at Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson easily had as an impressive of a pro day as McCarthy. We're going to talk about all that and more. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
Let's start off with the pros and let's give this guy proper credit, where credit is due. He looked fantastic, okay? He looked fantastic. He didn't mess up. I think Caleb had a very mid-pro day, to be honest. Everyone was talking about how good Caleb looked, but the problem is with pro days, they're throwing to wide receivers they know. They're lofting the ball up in the air 100 million miles into the sky and letting a receiver run under it. That 160-yard dime everybody calls to Blake Corum. I actually have it right here. We can watch it real quickly. This 60 I'll let it replay right here. The 60-yard dime, rolling to the left over to Blake Corum. That happens at every pro day. Like everyone's like enamored by it. It's a 60-yard throw. It also hung in the air a while. I'm not trying to be negative on this guy at all. I'm just saying, like, we need to pump the brakes on he's the number 2 overall pick. Now he's the number 3 overall pick. Let's let Penix Jr. have his pro day. It's going to get real interesting once we have a few more quarterbacks that up their value. It was a nice throw. There's no doubt about it. And he's always been good at that. He's always been good. There's a lot of video footage of him doing all kinds of, like, trick throws and stuff. He's a very, very accurate, very good quarterback. Could he be Goff? Yeah. Could he be Kirk Cousins? Sure. Those are really good quarterbacks. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just because he can't ever, in my eyes, be and I don't think he'll be, a Stroud or a Joe Burrow or anything above that, doesn't mean he can't be Jared Goff. Doesn't mean he can't march his team like Jared Goff did into, someday a near NFC championship, AFC Championship. Like Goff did. Goff was almost in the Super Bowl representing the NFC. Goff almost got there. So could JJ on the other side of the fence bring someday his team to a situation like that in Minnesota, if that's where he is? In LAC, if that's where he is? Because that's where I kind of think he needs to go. LAC, I don't know. What if he goes to Minnesota? Can he throw to JJ and drop dimes in JJ's breadbasket? Could he someday be in an AFC or NFC championship situation? Sure. Goff just proved he did it. Goff could be. Some people calling him Brady. No. I don't think so. Let's see here. Goff did go to a Super Bowl. He did. Goff already made it to a Super Bowl with the Rams, is correct. You know what I'm saying. I'm talking about this most recent run. But here's where I say just pump the brakes. Penix Jr.'s got to go. Caleb, everybody thought Caleb's day was pretty good. It wasn't. It was very mid. It was very, very, very mid. Only place he succeeds is the Vikings, says Kenobi. Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that fully, but I think he's not going to be elite anywhere, period, and he could be the closest thing to very, very, very good in a place where you got a receiver like JJ. If McCarthy goes to the Chargers, let's say, on some crazy trade that nobody sees coming, and everybody says it can't happen, that there's no way Harbaugh came in to trade away Herbert, I think that, like, Herbert can't really be elite, or he won't be elite. He could be elite, but he can't. I don't think he's going to be top 5 or 6 type material anymore in a Harbaugh system, a very balanced, run-heavy, defensive-minded. I know you say, in San Francisco, Harbaugh did this and Harbaugh did that, but Harbaugh is going to be doing what he's been doing the last handful of years. Not everything is going to translate from college football, but Harbaugh is very much going to have a balanced attack. So if this guy was playing in a Harbaugh offense, I don't think he'd ever be elite. I think he'd be very good. I think he'd be very efficient. He'd do what he did in college. He'd help Harbaugh win games and do it the way Harbaugh wants to do it. Ground and pound. Create mismatches because you got defenses trying to stop this run, and they're tired, and the defense is helping you win games too. That's what McCarthy did best. I don't think McCarthy is going to be a top 5 or 6 quarterback. And I think some people are just getting so far ahead. The McBrady thing is crazy. It's crazy to start talking about Brady with McCarthy. He had a pro day where he threw a 60-yard pass that was pretty nice. It was a nice pass, but it was a 60-yard pass. Garrett Wilson threw a very nice 65, maybe, yard pass. I don't know. As far as where he goes, and this is not a hate on JJ McCarthy thing. It's just a more so like pump the brakes on it. The problem is these teams that want him, Minnesota, Denver, Las Vegas, maybe other teams. I don't know. I mean, maybe the Giants are like, let's just take him. They very well could. I think that there's no way that Minnesota's getting him now anywhere near 11. There's no way he's falling to 12. There's no way he's falling to 13. If you want him, you must move up to get him from the Arizona Cardinals at 4, from the Chargers at 5, who are in the market to potentially kick the tires on a trade that could send the number 5 packing, which would piss off everybody. But in a way, it's kind of par for the course in terms of what we've seen right now with this Chargers build, or lack thereof. No Mike Williams. I get it. That part I get. No Keenan Allen. I kind of get it. He's 32 years old, but at the same time, you've got Quentin Johnson. You got really nothing to show for at wide receiver or at running back. And I don't feel the same way that the GM and Harbaugh might feel about Gus Bus. I like Gus Bus. He's a pretty good second running back in maybe a rotation. But the GM came out today and said not only this, bell cow, he said finisher. He said workhorse. He said bell cow. But the finisher part was crazy. He's the guy that's going to be in the game when the game's on the line, grinding out the yards, punching in the final touchdown, Gus busts. Now, Harbaugh runs a fantastic run-heavy attack, right? Is it possible that he has a way bigger Josh Palmer too? Yeah, but I mean, he's okay. He's nothing flashy. He's okay. At best, he's okay. He's not a number one wide receiver by any means. Wouldn't shock me if this Charger team continued to kind of throw us off, and all of us expect Neighbors, Odunze, Marvin Harrison Jr. to be a Charger, or Bowers, right? Seems like a lock, but that's in our mind. We don't know what Harbaugh's capable of doing. The fact that they're even kicking ideas around, maybe just to garner trade interest and value and see what they could get. But if it's me, you're hearing New England and Arizona are not really, Washington and New England. Arizona's open-minded to trading the pick too. New England and Washington reports came out today saying they are very much not interested in moving the picks according to reports. Whereas the Cardinals at 4 and Chargers at 5 are actually making it known that they're open-minded to moving the picks and that the door is open to have a conversation. That to me tells you something. A, you're trying to potentially shop it. You are, or you wouldn't even have those conversations. 2 and 3, sometimes it's acting like you don't want to trade the pick is better than acting like you want to trade the pick. We're not trading the 2 pick. Oh, well, now we got to really up the offer to try and get it. It doesn't do anything to be like our light is on, our door is open. If you want the 5 pick, it's around. Let's just say that and see what we can get. That doesn't do anything. They really are interested in fielding offers. They want to initiate some offers. That to me is worrisome. If the Chargers were to, let's say, the 5 pick is interesting, right? Because the Cardinals are taking MHJ if they don't move. If they do move, the team that comes into the 4 spot is going to probably draft a quarterback, which would step all over this 5 pick if anybody were to trade into the 5 pick. But I could see the Vikings offering 11 and 23 for the 5 to try and get JJ McCarthy. And then the Cardinals take MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr., or they trade out, and then whoever slots into the 4 snipes the Vikings who moved into the 5. It could be crazy. It could be a bunch of leapfrogging on draft day. But let's say the Cardinals stay at 4. They take Marvin Harrison Jr. And then the Chargers trade out of the 5 and trade the 11 and the 23 for the 5. The Chargers are drafting at 11. They take Brian Thomas Jr. Okay, not the end of the world, to be honest with you. I really like that move. And it could work out. I think Neighbors Odunze is better. But Brian Thomas Jr. would be fantastic. He'd be a great receiver for Herbert specifically anyway. So the Chargers move to 11, get Brian Thomas Jr. Not the end of the world. They didn't absolutely crap the bed, but it's definitely a move I think a lot of people would not expect, and it's par for the course for how they've not reacted in the offseason. Not bringing in Barkley, Jacobs, or Henry. Didn't make sense. They're the most, attractive landing spot because of how Harbaugh runs the football. This is a 15-touchdown running back in the NFL in 2024 if Harbaugh was to lean on one guy. Problem is, I think he has a 2 or even 3-headed monster. Blake Corum in the 2nd or 3rd round, mixed with Gus Bus, mixed with another running back of some kind. I could see him doing some kind of crazy rotation and pissing off a lot of fantasy owners. But end of day, McCarthy could go 4 or 5 or 6. At this point, with all the hype, and the hype was real before his pro day, at this point, I don't see how McCarthy falls past number 6 unless Penix Jr. goes out there and Bo Nix goes out there and they rip it up. And by rip it up, I mean like it is overwhelmingly better than what we just saw to McCarthy, which is hard to imagine because McCarthy really crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, and had a magnificent dime throw that everybody's spreading around all over the place. I don't know that McCarthy goes past 6. I don't know that McCarthy goes past 5. And if the Arizona Cardinals trade out of 4, I don't think McCarthy goes past 4. And some are talking about how the Bears should now take McCarthy. I don't think they're going to do that. The Washington Commanders, I think they go JD5. JD5's got his pro day coming up. He's going to make everybody forget about all this stuff because he's going to look fantastic as well. New England could go McCarthy. It really could happen. Drake May seems to be the guy that's falling. Drake May was everybody's darling. Could be the number 2. Might be the dark horse number 1. At the end of it all, now Drake May's been dropping. And it's been McCarthy that's climbing. It will be really, really interesting how it all plays out. All I know is that the Chargers are kind of unpredictable. And I don't know that we can assume anything at this point. If I had to guess, Caleb 1, JD 5 2. And now I'm torn on whether the Patriots would go McCarthy or go Drake May. Penix Jr. might enter this conversation, and right now it feels like to people he's in the 10, 11, 12, 13, not that the Jets would take him, but in that trade territory, 9. The Bears could trade out and give somebody 9, but Penix Jr. could be going between 9 and 16. All these teams be capable of trading out to allow a team to trade up to get him. Robert says May is starting to feel like Stroud. May is better than Howell, says Travis. I agree. Chargers 3,000 to win the Super Bowl, says Lupo. Adam Peters is likely looking at JD5. Of course he is, because Adam Peters knows ball. And JD5 is the best quarterback in this draft. He's better than Caleb by a mile. Caleb is not even my number 2 quarterback. Penix Jr. has too many injuries to be picked that high. He hasn't had those injuries in quite some time, my guy. That's why he played 2 years to try and prove that those are in the past. And all of his medicals checked out. There's nothing to be concerned about at this point. Somebody might have concern for it. Someone might pass on him because of it, but you're not going to have a handful of teams be too worried or apprehensive about having 2 really successful years. Drake May is definitely way better than Sam Howell. Sam Howell's a solid backup, one of the better backups in the league probably. But yeah, New England's going to be weighing between McCarthy and Drake May. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So we've got the McCarthy discussion we're going to have openly here, and people can call in and voice their opinion on that. We have the Gus Edwards is the bell cow, the finisher, the workhorse in LAC. I don't understand it. I don't buy into it. I don't like it. I'm not going near it. Monty Ossenfort has made the Cardinals number 4 overall pick available to whoever wants to come get it. Who knows if they end up making a trade? I hope they don't. If I'm Kyler Murray, I would retire if they don't go ahead and if they have a shot to get the next JJ and they don't take it. I'm upset. And then we talked about this yesterday. The Niners open to listening to offers. That's all spec. I don't even think there's an ounce of. I don't think they've verbally said we're not going to listen to offers, but I don't believe there's a single lick of truth that they've actually put out there. We're listening to offers. This is somebody saying the Niners. Here, let me tell you exactly where that report came from. The Niners have said in the past we're always going to listen to offers for anybody. So somebody took that verbiage from last year and is just telling everybody. And then somebody probably ran with it. And then somebody probably spun it, and somebody respun it, repackaged it, and then they keep shoving it out there. That's all that is. The Niners haven't said a single word about we're open to trading Ayuk. That is, I can almost guarantee you that has not come out of Shanahan's mouth. The only thing that's ever come out of Shanahan and John's mouth, especially this early on, they're not going to play their hand. The verbiage is we will trade, we will listen, we'll always listen to any incoming call on anything, because you never know what is going to improve, the team. So that's all that is. There's no Ayuk open door trade policy right now. Rock out with a super chat says, can you let Adam Peters cook? I agree. Let him cook. Give him JD5 to the moon. JD5 to the moon. End of the day, what do I want to happen? I was just about to map that out. I'd say Caleb to Chicago, because that's the place where I'm the most fearful of a quarterback failing. And so I want Caleb, the guy I don't believe in any way, to go there. Washington, I want JD5. Probably Drake May to New England, but I'm okay with the JJ McCaffrey or JJ McCarthy going to New England. Cardinals, I want taking Marvin Harrison Jr. LAC, I would like to have either Neighbors or Adunze. I probably prefer Adunze, as much as I feel like the Chargers offense will be very, very different than people imagine. There's still nobody in that wide receiver room, so if Neighbors or Adunze does go there, there's plenty of targets to make an elite wide receiver one, even if it's the lower end of the elite wide receiver one, like the middle range or something. So I do personally want Adunze there. I think the Giants probably look at McCarthy if he's there. If he's not there, they'll probably take, I think, either Neighbors or Adunze. This is just my early spitball guesswork at this stuff. If Adunze falls to the 8 pick, even though the Falcons did pick up Mooney, they got Rondell Moore in a trade with the Cardinals for Ritter, which was awful. I still think they'll look at Adunze. I still think it's something that they'll contemplate. And past that, if Adunze gets past 8, I don't know where he's going to go. Mike Williams is in New York, so the Jets probably would not even consider him. The Chicago Bears could potentially, but I hope they don't. I think Keenan Allen closes the door on a receiver going in the top 10 picks for them if they have using one of these picks. I think Denver's capable of taking any receiver that's left over between the top 4, so Thomas Jr. included with Adunze, Neighbors, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Minnesota and Denver and Las Vegas will be in a hot pursuit to trade up to get McCarthy off of all this buzz, because I think he had enough buzz anyway. This just adds, more fuel to the fire. But again, I urge everyone to wait for Penix Jr., wait for these for JD5. Let these guys get their chance to kind of impress, because everybody's impressive on their pro day. I'm telling you, I went back and looked at the Zach Wilson stuff, and I remember how hyped even I was watching him. And good God, and another person, I read a couple different places where people were timing the throw. That 60-yard dime to Blake Corum was in the air for quite some time. Those throws look great during pro days, but you don't throw passes like that in the NFL typically. They get hung up in the air so long they get picked off. Like, everyone needs to relax on that. You're also throwing the ball up and the receiver's just trying to get under it. It's a missile into the rafters. It's pretty hard not to connect with your receiver or running back that you're throwing to on those situations. So the pro days are very, very, very deceptive, and they almost make people react in ways that the combine makes people react, but sometimes in a more even aggressive fashion. So it'll be interesting, and I do give McCarthy credit though, because he did look good. He didn't do anything that would make me say, God, he had a bad pro day, let's tear him down. He absolutely did great. There's no doubt about it. He didn't misstep or do anything. I think Caleb's pro day was mid compared to McCarthy's. Very mid. What's up, Ron Navy? You're live.
What's up, Smitty? So, yeah, I think what he had to prove is that not that we know that he can get the ball down the field, because he was limited in Michigan and he wasn't asked to do that. We know that he can hit the outs, he can hit the ends, but what he needed to showcase was his arm strength and if he could get the ball down the field or not. Not if he can, not that he's going to be making those throws all the time. Depends where he goes, but that's what teams are looking for.
Yeah, lot of tools, a lot of physical tools. He has a lot of good tools, no doubt about it. Perps gifting 20 gifted memberships. Finish your point, then I'm going to do a little celebration there for Perps.
Go ahead, do the celebration.
No, go ahead, finish your thought. What?
Perps, I think, is praying that Minnesota gets McCarthy.
Yeah, I would like to know what he thinks about him. I like him. I like him. I never hated on McCarthy. I've always liked him. I just don't think he's capable of being as good as some people want him to be. But I wouldn't rule it out either. I'm open-minded to him. I'm open-minded to changing my mind on it.
Yeah, because we've seen him in limited capacity under Hallbrau's offense
Right.
there in Michigan.
Right.
We don't know what he's fully capable of doing.
Yeah, I just but we don't but we have to err on the side, in my opinion, and this is my open-mindedness. I'm open-minded to it. I'm not shutting the door that McCarthy could be way better than I ever anticipate, but I don't think we could just assume because we haven't seen it that it's there. And so I think most people are drawing way too many positive conclusions instead of being a little skeptical about it and just like assuming, well, it's because he was taken out in the fourth quarter a lot. Well, okay, well, where do we have evidence that he would have done this, or this if he didn't? And then it's like, you know, it was a conservative situation to be set up very, very nicely because this run and defense put him, McCarthy, in very good situations, you know, ball in terms of like field position and you know, just a lot of different things. For me, it's like I would rather err on the side of caution than just assume because we didn't see these things because of this that they're there. But you know, you put him in Minnesota, he's got JJ. He's gonna be fine. He'll turn into a Goff very easily with JJ catching the football. You put him in Las Vegas, it's pretty good because you got you know, Devontae Adams could be pretty good for at least another year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, if you're lucky. At least good enough to help mature him along. You got Mayer, you got Zamir White. You put him in a location like Denver, though. I think McCarthy's probably mismanaged and not, you know, we have a little bit more risk of him not developing into the player, you know, we think he could be. In New York with no wide receivers, I don't think McCarthy's going to flourish at all for a while until they bring in somebody. So situation is going to be very dependent. In New England, you put McCarthy in New England, he's climbing so high. If he goes number 3 to New England, who do they got to throw to? Who's he going to throw to? I don't like him in New England either. I hate to say that for Travis's sake, but I just don't know who he's going to throw to. You know, like JD5 will survive better by himself in New England doing kind of what AR5 is capable of doing. You know, AR5's got JT, AR5's got Pittman. He does have Pittman, but even if Pittman like went down, like AR5 would find ways to score points and he'd still be good from a fantasy perspective. From a fantasy perspective, JJ McCarthy in New England, JJ McCarthy in New York, those are far different situations than JJ McCarthy in Minnesota and JJ McCarthy in mute yourself if you could, Terrell, please. JJ McCarthy in a bunch of these different situations. You know, they're just far, far different. All right, hold on. Let me get Perps taken care of here. Perps with a $20 holler. Perps to the moon.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Activate Operation Briefcase. Money case. Perps dropping what is equated to probably about $100 holler or so. I forget what the amount is, but it doesn't matter. You drop 20 gifted memberships. You're doing it for the people. $20 holler or $100 holler. Let's go. Perps to the moon. Perps money case in the house. Making my office an absolute mess. Thank you, Perps. Perps. Let me go over. Ron, do you have anything else you want to add to that real quick before I head over to Aurora, then to Mr. G, and then over to Terrell?
No, I'm just going to hang here.
Okay. Aurora, you're live.
Hey, Smitty. How you doing? Happy Friday. Yeah, look, I think McCarthy, in terms of the offense he was in, it wasn't the most quarterback-friendly, but, you know, in terms of an NFL offense, extremely similar. I mean, he handed the ball off situationally a ton, and then third down, it's like all of a sudden bail us out. And he did that very well. I mean, he can throw it in tight windows. I know the combine, I don't really pay much attention because, like you said, guys like Zach Wilson can look amazing and then just have like a weird type career where, you know, nothing translates. But he threw 60 miles per hour there and he has great feet and pocket presence. And this is the one thing that I was telling you with Minnesota earlier is that if they are able to land someone like a JJ McCarthy or whatever, that's why I do like, assuming Justin Jefferson and whatnot, they're all there and healthy. That's why I do like bringing in a veteran running back like Aaron Jones because for the long term, that's not, something that you want, obviously, but for the short term, especially drafting a quarterback, I mean, he's got all the necessities he needs. And I just think in terms of all these quarterbacks that have played, he has played at least, even though there's a small sample size with the situational stuff, that he's at least played in that NFL-type style offense where I do think it can translate well.
Which makes me like him. And again, you've never heard me hate on him. Like, some people think I hate him. I don't hate him. I try and temper the expectations of, is he as good physically as JD5 or, some say Caleb is. I don't. To be honest with you, I'd rather have him than Caleb. Like, I'm not a fan of Caleb Williams. You can call me a hater all you want. I get such bust vibes from Caleb. I don't want to be a part of that and chase the talent. What is that noise? What is going on?
That's not me.
What's going on in the background there? Who is that? Is that Terrell again? I think Terrell muted himself because he had that freeway noise going. Is that Mr. G? Mr. G, what is going on in that household there, pal?
My wife blew her nose.
Oh, jeez. All right.
I'll mute it. I'm muting it.
No. We don't want to get you in trouble. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say anything. It sounded like a trumpet. All right.
Sounded like a trumpet.
It did. Very nice sound, though. Very nice. It was very in tune. Very on key. I'm sorry. I'm going to get you in trouble. She's never going to let you watch the show again. I hear you, Aurora. Let's go over to Mr. G. He deserves it after that. And let me just say, off of your comments, I'd say I agree with you. And I've never, ever hated on McCarthy. I just don't see him as good as JD5. Like, if we're starting to talk about JD5, and if people think Mays is as good as JD5, and people think that Caleb's as good as JD5, I don't think he's in that bucket. I'm kind of getting the sense that a lot of other teams and people are going to start viewing Penix Jr. as right there with like Drake May, but I don't think anybody's going to get to where they start comparing JD5 and Caleb, even though Caleb's not my guy, to Penix Jr. McCarthy feels like he's got a little bit easier time getting in between the Caleb JD5 tier and the Penix Jr. tier. I think McCarthy can carve out his own like sub tier. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think in the right spot, I like it. Like, in the right spot, I love JJ McCarthy in Minnesota way more than I love him, like I said, in New York, playing for the Giants with no one to throw to, in New England, playing for the Patriots with no one to throw to. That is a situation that I don't think is going to end well. For really, it's going to be a tough spot for anybody. If JD5 goes there, it's still a tough spot for JD5 in New England with no receivers. But I do believe he's the most capable of getting through a bad situation because he's so capable of running. So we'll have to see. Does anybody else notice that he's the first? Is he the first player to ever come out with the haircut like the kids have had the last like handful of years? This is like the one that looks like a dead squirrel's on your forehead, and it's the new hairstyle that we've seen all of our kids go to school and all the boys have it. Everybody has it, and the kids are messing with it. All the kids that are streaming on Twitch, they just mess with the rat nest in the front. Like, this is the first. I'm just noticing right now he's got that head of hair, and this hairstyle is very big with the kids. It's graduated into the college football game. This was like a few years ago. This is what the high school kids had, This hairstyle, it's doesn't it look like there's something on the I mean, I'm jealous. I wish I could have a what looks like a rat on the front of my head. I'd grow it. I'd do it.
He lets it rock out. He's not ashamed.
If I could, I have to keep mine real tight nowadays. If I could grow this, I would grow that and have it in some sort of man bun on the back. I don't care what anybody says. I would abuse the hell out of it. If those follicles were firing off like this kid's, I'd be having to go in different directions all over the place. Let me go over to Mr. G real quick. Mr. G, what can I do for you, pal?
Hey, how's it going tonight? Hey, so I do got a question. I want to change the topic just for a moment. I want to talk about the Baltimore Ravens for a quick moment, and I want to talk about how does Derrick Henry affect Lamar Jackson? Nobody seems to be talking about it. All pro Henry. Then how does this affect Lamar Jackson? Is he still going to maintain a top 5 forward status?
It's a good question. I think Henry's going to be a little less than I think everybody thinks. Doesn't mean he won't have touchdowns, but I think he's going to be a little less effective in terms of, like, is he going to take away so much yardage? He's going to, vulture all the touchdowns. The bottom line for me for Lamar, and I've been very, very consistent on this for almost Lamar's entire career, I don't view him as a consistent top 4 or 5 quarterback. I think he's been up and down. I very much worry about injury with him every year. Not that I don't with other running quarterbacks too, to be fair, but I'm not like, I would expect inconsistency from year to year from Lamar anyway. So I don't really know what to expect. I wouldn't draft Lamar ahead of Hurts or Josh Allen or Mahomes. I think you could contemplate like Lamar, Stroud, and Burrow, that conversation. But I would say, like, at the end of the day, Henry's going to have probably 1,000 yards on the ground. Nothing different than what that running game was doing anyway, right? I think he's going to be a lot more limited in the yards.
That's what I was afraid of.
And Gus Bus had multiple touchdown games anyway. So, like, all those touchdowns that's being transferred over to Henry, I don't think it really changes anything. I think Lamar's inconsistent anyway. I don't think it's because of Derrick Henry.
Okay. Yeah, he's my dynasty quarterback. And with the signing of Henry, I mean, it was exciting and neat and whatnot, but I'm thinking this is probably going to hurt Lamar in the long run. And I'm thinking about moving off of him. So I just wanted to see what you thought about the topic.
Yeah.
Nothing should change with Lamar because they've always had back stable. And Lamar's biggest problem, one of his biggest problems, is when he runs, he fumbles the ball a lot. He tends to fumble the ball a lot, but nothing should change as far as his stats go because they've always had 2 or 3 running back rotations that's always been effective there.
Yeah, I think
That's a good point, Ron.
Yeah, I think that, like, you look at what Gus Bus did on the ground anyway, touchdown wise. Not gonna change. There's a lot of touchdowns.
Sure.
Let's
go.
go.
That's a good point, you guys.
Yeah, real quickly, D-Town makes a really good point. He says, and I bet JD5, and he's insinuating this would come from me, my biased take, right? I bet JD5 has a head of hair of an angel. This is what he thinks. You know what? We'll examine that when the time comes, when we've got him on the graphic. Let's focus on McCarthy. Not to mention D-Town. I said that I would grow this if I could. Didn't you hear me say that? Are you just looking for the negatives in my commentary? I said if I could grow a rat's nest on the front of my head at my old age, I would do it. I would do it. I'd grow a tail. I'd grow sideburns. I'd have a tail back here. I'd have a tail up here. I'd do it all. I'd look like Jason Momoa or whatever his name is. I'd have that stuff all over the place. I already said that.
What?
Who wouldn't?
When's the
Who
last
wouldn't?
time you had hair?
What?
When's the last time you had hair?
I've been shaving it down since I'd say last 6 years. It doesn't grow like it used to. It also gets lighter. The more I grow it out, the lighter it gets. So
it'd be cool to see a picture of you. I don't think I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I can show a picture. I can show a picture. I have darker hair the shorter I keep it. It definitely. If I grow it out, it gets blonde, and then it looks all thin. And I'll admit, it's receding. It is what it is. I keep it clean. I think that's the best way to go. I think holding on to anything is a mistake.
So you got hair like Woody Harrelson then.
It's just when you get older, for the young kids in here that are going to make fun of us, older guys, as you get older, your hair's not as healthy the longer you grow it out. And it's like, it'll take me 7 months to try and get the, hair to grow out. And then it just stops growing at a certain point. You get to the point where it's like, it doesn't look full. And so I started, I put Rogaine on the temples. I've done, I have no problem admitting. Look, you start losing, everybody starts losing hair. The thing that's crazy is the younger kids that don't really keep tabs on what their mother's father went through, because you inherit this for the most part from your mother's father. If your mother's father was bald, you better start using Rogaine right now when you have a full head of hair, because you'll keep almost all of it for a while. You wait until you notice it. You wait till somebody makes a comment, because it happens so subtly to you. You'll have a big hole in the back of your head that you can't fix. So my advice would be to rub that Rogaine in there real nice and good every day. You know, you're 25 years old.
Yeah, I'm pushing 50, and I go to the same barber you do, Smitty.
Yeah,
I'm 55, be 56, and I don't have a problem. I could look like a Wookiee.
Yeah, your mother's father had a big head of hair, didn't he? He had a nice head of hair.
Yep, he sure did.
Yep. Go look at your mother's father. If he's balding, you better get on the Rogaine. Better get on the Rogaine. You better do it quick. You're gonna start receding. It's all gonna happen. And when it does, just take it down. Take it down. All right. Hey, let's move on. Let me go over to Terrell. Terrell, what's up? You're live.
Hey, what's up, Smitty? So I called last night about my dynasty team, and you asked me what my pick was for the upcoming draft, and it is the 303. So I'm trying to figure out who I should go with. I'm thinking Legret, maybe the wide receiver.
So you pick number what?
303. Round 303.
Okay. And what was the question?
Out of 12. Now, last night I called and you asked me what was my pick, because you said I need to add equity to my team through draft capital. So I'm trying to figure out, have you done any mock drafts for Dynasty, and if you had that pick, who would you go with? Who would you target?
At 3.3 in a rookie draft?
Yes.
Third round, third pick. In a super flex rookie?
Yes.
I don't know that. That's way too far down to really know, bro, because Malachi Corley could fall there, or maybe he goes 2.1. Leggett could fall there, maybe he goes 2.1.
Hopefully Leggett, yeah.
Could like, where's Braylon Allen going to be? Right now, you do an Underdog Fantasy Draft, promo code Smitty. Okay, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. If you do a draft right now, you'll see Braylon Allen, you'll see Jalen Wright, you'll see Trey Benson, all those guys like deep in the hundreds, right. Deep in the like 140, 100, I don't even know where, 140, 150. You'll see Frank Gore Jr. like the 200s. Like all these guys, landing spot will vault one of them into the 80s or 90s, you know? So like I really can't tell you. I'd just say like keep tabs on where Malachi Corley is, keep tabs on where Leggett is, keep tabs on you know I think is one of my favorite players right now. We might even be a moon man to be not in the next Puka, because no one's gonna beat Puka. And it's not McConkey. I like McConkey a lot too, but it's Parasol. Parasol might be better than McConkey. Parasol is a really, really intriguing. He's this year's version of grabbing that late guy and hoping you get the most out of it. But, you know, Parasol's definitely, you know, the guy you want to keep tabs on. But, like, you know, he could climb up, boards. All these, there's just no way to know.
Okay.
All right, bro. What else you got?
And I have something on Caleb Williams. I was watching his highlights, and I feel like this kid's an AI.
He's a what? An AI?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like robotic or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and this is very like, I don't know. Everyone's gonna say this is stupid analysis, and I'm just having a conversation. Two dudes having a conversation. This is not the analyst hat that I have on. This is not analyst Smitty. This is two dudes having a conversation. but just his mannerisms. Like when he's looking around in the stands, like he's trying to look for somebody.
It's weird.
You could say he was. Maybe he's looking for an old coach. Maybe he's looking for his mama for later. You know, if it doesn't go well or something. Whatever the case may be, he might have very well been looking for someone specific. But you remember, like as a kid, someone will walk around school and pretend they were looking for somebody, and they keep walking the other way. It's like it gave off the vibes of this guy was doing stuff like that. He walks weird. He acts weird. He talks to the media weird. He crawled in his mama's lap and wept. And it's like, oh, Smitty, other players cry. I didn't say anything about crying being a bad thing. I don't think I'd cry at the end of a game, to be honest with you. Like I'm not judging anybody that does cry at the end of a game. Like if let's say you have a shot of, let's say a man's man. Okay, he's crying. He's got the towel on his head. He lost the Super Bowl. I don't judge him at all. But if he crawled into mama's lap in the stands and started weeping, I would feel differently. That is very different. But even that aside, when they ask him after, what do you hey, how's this going? I just want to, he said to the reporter, I want to cuddle with my dog and watch TV. I just want to go home and cuddle with my dog. It's like all those things like add up to me where I'm like, what is he doing? What's he doing? And then on top of that, you have multiple Chicago Bear players. Multiple Chicago Bear players that are about to receive this man as their quarterback. They came out and they've already said you can't bring any of that Hollywood stuff over to the NFL. Like multiple Chicago Bear players. They've said it pretty aggressively too, like he's got to humble himself and bring none of that stuff over into the NFL because the NFL is different. It'll, basically, scoop you up, spit you out is basically what these players were. His own potential future prospective players were saying this and giving him advice. Be humble. Stop doing all this circus stuff. Okay, be humble. And if your own possible future players are saying this, what do you think other fan bases are going to say? Like, I love when people defend him. It's weird. Did we get another gifted membership?
Yeah, Perps again. 20.
Perps. I'd have to load the briefcase up again. Let me just grab this from the ground and just throw it all over. Perps to the moon. Perps, appreciate you. Perps, $50 holler.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Perps is a monster. Perps, can you call in or are you not free? I want to know what you think about JJ McCarthy to the Vikings. I forget. Yeah, but I would love to know what he thinks. Is anybody saying? Is anybody like what's everybody saying in the chat? I get a sense that it still pisses a lot of people off when I bring that up about Caleb, but I would love for somebody to call in and have a nice conversation about it. I'm not trying to go at anybody, but if someone really believes climbing in mama's lap and weeping is not different than just crying. Like if I saw Deebo Samuel, and I forget what Niners cried at the end of the game. If I saw Brandon Ayuk or Deebo or Purdy or anybody kind of shed a tear at the end of the game, I wouldn't judge them. When I tore my knee up, my body was shooting tears out of my eyes because I was screaming so loud. I wasn't weeping, anything like that. I honestly don't think I would, even if I lost the Super Bowl. What is all that noise? Who's making all that noise? Is that Terrell? It sounds like.
Give him 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm about to go.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate you.
All right, hey, Terrell, appreciate you, bro. You got a lot of background noise, but that comes with the territory. I don't want you to apologize for it. We just know when we got you on the. No. Don't apologize for being you. Okay. We have Warehouse Steve that calls in, and when the warehouse isn't in the background, we don't know who we're talking to. It is what it is. You travel with the window down. It is what it is. Terrell, we'll see you later. Call back if you got anything else.
Yes, sir.
Did you see that outfit Caleb was wearing? That it looked like he was like one of those guys that you see at the in the movies where they show they're at the airport. Those in the robes, those religious guys.
No, I didn't see it.
He was wearing like these dress robes or whatever. Like that.
I can't speak to that.
I think him and Russell Wilson could be best friends.
Yeah, bunk beds. more room for activities. Talk to imaginary people. I just like, again, not with the analyst hat on. I'm taking the analyst hat off, and I'm just having a man-to-man conversation with somebody, a bro conversation. I just say, he acts weird. He acts so weird. I can't trust somebody. You know why I can't trust him? As just a regular fan and regular dude. Okay, this has nothing to do with analyst stuff. If I was talking to my buddy about the Cardinals bringing this guy in, I'd be saying to my buddy, I can't. You know why I can't trust a guy that acts the way he does? There's too many examples of people doing that and never working out. Never working out. I want a leader. You know, Joe Burrow has the temperament, heart rate, and calmness, they said, of a serial offender and a and what else did they say? I forget. It's like he's one or the other. He's the most calm, cool, collected person under fire. And when he's in there and something goes crazy, he's calm. He's cool. He can get frustrated when he ripped up his arm. He was mad. He threw the ball down. He was upset. He can have an emotion. But this guy's got a heart rate that doesn't change. If Joe Burrow lost a Super Bowl and he shed a tear, that's fine. But Joe Burrow would walk across the field, shake hands, give a few hugs, and then he'd literally go, let's get to work. Caleb will climb into the stands, into mama's lap, and weep. That you can't tell me that as a player in the National Football League, as a man, you're going to say that's my leader up there. Because that's the question. Am I judging him for crawling in mama's lap and weeping? Maybe a little bit, but not. I don't care. If that's what he does, that's how he acts, whatever, it's fine. But he can't be the man that all of the 50-plus men sitting there are going to follow. They're not going to follow somebody that they feel like wouldn't stand up and lead and say, let's get to work. We just lost. Let's get to work. You need your leader to do that. You can't have your leader doing this. It's a whole different conversation.
What's that say about Chicago drafting him number one? I mean, I think Caleb reminds me of somebody that's going to bring a lot of drama to a team. Just my personal feeling. I think he's going to create a lot of outside drama. And
that's on cue for Chicago, it feels like.
Yeah.
Smitty, do you think the fingernails thing people bring up, I don't really care about that, but the red flag that I bring up is, and I don't know if that was his dad or whatever, but the ownership part where he was talking about NFL ownership, don't you think that's like, something that can escalate down the line where not really in the ownership part, but just things like that, just out of nowhere for no reason. I'm not going to judge why he painted a nail or two, or I don't know the significance behind that. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm just saying people bring that up. I'm talking about, though, the ownership part, those reports where he was talking about perhaps getting ownership. I don't know if his dad brought that up. I don't know. He's weird, bro. He's weird, and Russell Wilson's weird. And how is that working out?
Kaepernick.
Drew Lock was weird. Drew Lock, remember Drew Lock? When they cut to that film of Drew Lock on the sideline doing that rap, he was like this, and he was doing this rap on the sideline. I was like, this guy's never gonna work out in the NFL. Everyone's like, that's the stupidest analysis you ever had, Smitty, because he's singing a rap song on the sideline. And I'm like, it's not about that. I'm getting the weirdest vibe from this guy that he's not gonna be able to lead the men. Like, and everyone's saying Joe Burrow cried or Joe Burrow could cry. That's okay. Crying is different than weeping in your mama's lap. It's very different. It's very, very different.
Will Levis is too. Levis has done some weird stuff.
Yeah, we'll see how it all translates. But you can't find a single example that will be equivalent to the Caleb stuff or the Russell Wilson stuff. And Russell Wilson didn't feel like he was doing a lot of the weird stuff till recently, or at least it wasn't out there. But now Russell Wilson's talking to imaginary people. He does imaginary high fives. There's just no way that Fields isn't ripping the job from his grip. And it won't even be a kung fu grip. I don't think Russell Wilson's going to have a tight grip on the starting job at all. I think Fields, as I put on the board up here, is starting by week 1. I think Fields rips the job from him before week 1, and if he doesn't, he takes it by week 3 or 4. And Fields, if this team starts off losing, Fields is going to take the job and run with it, and he's going to have nothing to look over his shoulder about. It's going to get crazy. I don't know.
Caleb, you need to go in this play. Have you ever run this before? But Mama says, let me check with Mama.
I just don't know why anybody, like, why do people defend Bear fans? It's got to be Bear fans. Like, if you're a Bear fan, you're like, you have no other choice. Like, what are you going to do? Rip on the guy you're about to draft? You're going to have hope that he does well. You know, I get it. What's a Bear fan going to say? You know, like, let's put it all in perspective. Now, Ron might crap on it because he, you know, Ron even will rip on Tomlin and say he wants him gone and all that. So, but a lot of other people will be very biased toward their team. And I could imagine, you know, in just about any team in the NFL that's going to draft Caleb figures out a way to be like, yeah, it's okay to cry. A lot of people cry. Joe Burrow cries. Why are people saying that? Why are people saying that this guy cried? I'm not saying crying's bad. I'm not saying shedding a tear's bad. I honestly, and everybody's different, I honestly don't think I would cry if I lost a big game. I would be hungry to get out there, get to work. But that's me. That doesn't make me better than anybody. It just means that I don't think I would show that kind of emotion on the field. It doesn't mean you're a bad person by doing it. It just means that if you crawl in mama's lap to do it in front of everybody, you don't even have the sense to be like, let me wait till, you know, nobody's around and that's just the way I cope or whatever. Like, whatever, you know, do what you got to do. But the fact that he walked up to the front row, climbed up, and got in that fetal position, it was like, how is anybody saying that this is, like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. All right, enough of that.
I think the biggest reason, too, is he's a quarterback. So, you know.
Well, he's the field general. He's the field. If one of my Moon Men prediction didn't land, and I said, hold on, guys, and I went to a different scene, and my mom came in, and I got in the fetal position, and she was like, good boy. And I'm crying and weeping because I missed a Moon Man prediction. Who here is not watching tomorrow? Who here doesn't come back tomorrow if I'm in the corner weeping in mama's lap because I missed the Moon Man prediction? Just be honest.
Oh, we all do. We all come back because we making fun of you.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? I would unfollow every single one of you if you didn't unfollow me. I mean, put it in perspective, okay? It'd be one thing if no offense picking on anybody, but let's say we'll use peanut butter and jelly. Let's say peanut butter and jelly, you know, weep like that. We'd all find a way to be okay with it. He is who he is. We love peanut butter and jelly. He's not running the show. Caleb is the quarterback. He's the leader. He's the guy that when you get in a huddle, you all look at him and he says, we're going to go march down the field. We're going to score a touchdown. We're going to get the ball back, so we need the defense to step up. And we need to do blue 32 on the 7, on the HUD 4, 5, 6, 7, go! And you're literally putting it all on the line, and this is the guy you can't trust him. You can't. And I can't believe how many people think it's crazy. I can't believe how many people think I'm out of pocket by saying I couldn't follow. If I was in war times and my general was doing that right before we were to go out into war, I would be like, where's the back door? Because this guy's leading us to a slaughter. You know, if somebody in the platoon had a breakdown like that, we carry them. We work through it. They're a brother. We carry them. We figure it out. Maybe they're just having a weird moment. But if your general does it, you're done. You're done. The ship is going down. The captain of the boat stays on the boat when the boat's going to sink. Why? Because he's different. Because he's hardened, and because you can trust that no matter what happens, no matter what storm comes, no matter how big the hole is in the side of the boat, that the iceberg ripped open, the captain is the one guy that is steadfast. He'll stand there until the very end. If you watch the captain of your ship do what Caleb did, you are like, oh my God, how do I get off this ship? How do I get off this boat? If the head of entertainment on the boat did that, you wouldn't be so panicked. You'd be like, well, it's okay.
That's true. I've had some weird captains though, so. Peanut butter jelly only cries because it makes the peanut butter less sticky.
Yeah. Global keeps saying the same thing over and over. I don't think you're listening to me, Global. He says Joe Burrow cried. Great. It's fine. Where have I said you can't cry? Where have I said I wouldn't follow a guy that shed a tear? That's different, Global. It's very different. Very, very different.
15 minutes is almost up. You're hearing from Purpose.
What do you mean?
He said give him 15 minutes, he'll call in.
Oh, okay. Sick Nasty with a $5 holler. What would JD5 or Penix numbers look like last year if they had played ball for the Wolverines last season? I don't know. That game's hard to play because every player's fit for their offense, and you know what I mean. Like the thing about Penix Jr. that I feel like people are, this guy's got good accuracy. He can throw dimes as well with the best of them, and I can't wait to watch what Penix Jr. does to his draft stock. If McCarthy can climb up, so can Penix Jr. And JD5 is going to do the same thing. I think both these guys are gonna vault up draft boards. I think both of them are absolutely magnificent players. This guy, all of his medical is cleared. Everybody that says he's all injury prone. Smitty, I'm listening. You're nuts tonight. You're kind of on an island by yourself, Global. There might be 2 or 3 people with you, but why is the majority of everybody not in agreement with you? Global. It's because maybe you're acting a little crazy tonight. 2 ACL tears, 2 shoulder injuries in the past 2 years, clean bill of health at the combine, medicals checked out. There's still a concern because he had, the major injuries leading up to that, but I think all the teams are pretty much on board with that. He took grit, took a bunch of hits. He didn't end up putting himself in a bad situation. I think getting beat up and hit in that championship game because he escaped it unscathed. He was getting knocked around. He did get bruised and banged up, but he did not exit the game injured. And everybody that said, oh, see, he got banged up again, he didn't. He proved that he can take hits and not get injured. He took a beating in that game. But 46-48, 35 tutties, 9 INTs, phenomenal year in 2023 for Penix Jr. And this guy has, I think it's the 5th biggest hand size measurement of all time for a quarterback. I believe, I forget what the number was, where he ranked on that. It was like top 5, I believe, in hand size. This guy's got a monster hand, and just can't wait to see what this kid can do and how high he can climb his draft stock. Him and JD5 are going to be big climbers. And that's the only reason why I say pump the brakes a little bit on JD5. I'm sorry, JJ McCarthy. Just a little bit. Not that I think he's going to be bad. Not that I'm trying to predict him to bust. Just that people are, I think, what have you done for me lately? Recency bias. This guy just had his pro day and everybody's excited about it. But, these are missiles they throw in the air where the running back or wide receiver have plenty of time to get under it. They're not throwing, tight, low throws. You'll hear a really good NFL scout say you don't want a ball to be so far above, like, the crossbar and the goalpost. You want these things to be low to the ground. You want these missiles to be in the air for the least amount of time as possible. Throwing at a pro day or a combine a missile into the air so that a wide receiver running back can get under almost any one of those throws is not all that impressive to me. Zach Wilson proved that. That entire running back class of Zach Wilson's year proved that to us. None of that really, truly matters. What Ron said makes sense. You want to see if he's got the arm strength because of all the other intangibles he kind of brings to the table. And that's what makes him Goff capable. He could be a Jared Goff. That's a really good quarterback. There's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't have bust written on him at all. I don't think, I'll go as far as to say this. he probably has the most likelihood of not busting. Like lingering in the NFL for a very long time as a, probably a good quarterback. I like the odds of that. Penix Jr. has more bust potential because of the injury concern. JD5 runs more. Caleb's got bust potential to the moon. And then you've got Bo Nix is kind of like there's a lot of risk with him because he's the least secure, I think, of all these guys right now. Drake May, he probably I would say, like McCarthy, less bust risk, but maybe not as much potential upside. So McCarthy's very, pro quarterback ready. It's just a matter of where's the ceiling. Now that we got Perps on the phone, Perps, what do you feel about McCarthy in Minnesota? To be honest with you, it's the best option I can cook up. So it almost feels like the only good news or good potential, I guess, marriage you could say. Penix Jr. would be good too. I just don't know if the Vikings view him that way. I think they will. Give him time. But what do you think about McCarthy to JJ? JJM to JJ?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about it. I would rather have JD5 if I had a choice, or Drake May, but those guys probably aren't going to be there unless the Vikings trade up and totally give away their other first-round picks to get there. But the other thought is let them go play for Harbaugh, and I'm not opposed to bringing Herbert in, but McCarthy's got an arm. He could connect with JJ. I just don't know if it's going to be this year and Darnold is going to be the main play or what. I just don't know that he's 100% ready to step up.
I think JJ, he does feel like one of the more capable NFL-ready quarterbacks, though. All the things we talked about earlier about him. So, I would say that I wouldn't be worried about him being NFL-ready. I think it's just a matter of, who's got more upside and who fits Minnesota's offense better, too. I think Penix Jr. probably is a little bit better for that offense anyway, though, because I think he can throw for, look at his yardage totals. McCarthy might have a good arm. He's proving that. He might be good at commanding the field. He's proved that. But can he go out there and throw yards and be an absolute gunslinger like Penix Jr. was in college? I think Minnesota's better off going Penix Jr. to JJ, honestly. But, it doesn't mean I'm totally, not on board with the pairing of the two. But I would say that I think McCarthy's climbed up high enough that Minnesota can't even get him at 11, even if they wanted to. And I think where he ends up going, which is probably 3, 4, or 5, or 6 overall, I don't think McCarthy falls past number 6 now. You have to start this quarterback, I think, if you draft him there. In my opinion, I don't think in the NFL it makes any sense at all to draft a quarterback inside the top 10 overall and not play him week 1, especially when the backup's Darnold. You know what I mean? So I think you're better off with Penix Jr.
I'm not excited about that at all.
Yeah. I can't blame you for not being excited about it. You don't know what he is. There's a lot of nice, features and he's got a good skill set, but I don't know that everybody's drawing these conclusions. I don't know. I think it's a little early to be talking about him being a lock to be good enough to feed JJ and just have no worries or concerns. I have some worries and concerns for sure. Not that Bo Nix still doesn't worry me in some ways. He still does. I like Bo Nix a lot, but there's still a lot of questions. Penix Jr. doesn't worry me at all. He played on a big stage, and I think he did pretty well considering all that he had to endure against Michigan. And he's sticking in there and not getting injured. I was real impressed, to be honest with you. Everybody walked away from that national championship game downgrading Penix Jr. And personally, I didn't.
Yeah, no, and what I meant by I'm not excited is about Darnold, that they signed him and him even going in there. And then as far as JJ, I wouldn't say that I'm not excited. I just prefer other options. And again, you have your statement, I have mine. I don't know that he's ready to throw the ball to JJ and be as in tune with what Vikings fans are going to demand and want out of him out the gate. Ronald told me so all day long, but everyone's used to Kirk Cousins, He didn't get to the promised land, but the guy could throw the ball, and his completion was there.
Ron wants to know if you rather.
I don't want Kirk. I don't want Kirk at all either, Ron. His time was up. But I'm just saying that I'll take JJ McCarthy over the crybaby Caleb. I mean, we might as well call him the water boy, because the water boy was a mama's boy. And
Kirk's going to take
the water boy could slide.
Bobby Boucher.
Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, Bobby Boucher, he could slide down. He might not even be first overall.
Yeah, I'd probably say. You know what? I don't know why the Minnesota Vikings didn't bring in Fields. It's head scratching to me. I don't even care what people say about he could have went to this team or that team, but Fields shut it down. Fields only had so much power. If you up the offer, the Bears would have taken it. The Bears are trying to make a statement. They're trying to look like they know what they're doing with these trades too. And I can tell you right now, Poles would gladly have taken a much better offer. You're debating like where the pick is or something, or a 6th rounder conditional to 4 versus maybe a 5th rounder conditional to 4 or something like that. Or maybe it was a 5th rounder non-conditional, 6th rounder conditional to 4. There's a lot of different like things that got kicked around that aren't fully public yet. But I don't buy for a second that the Chicago Bears would have turned down a better offer had it been significantly better. They would have said, whoa, I don't care about Fields things. We're going to do this trade. And the Vikings, like, why not? Why not? Why not? I mean, you've got Addison, you've got JJ, you've got Hawkinson, you've got Aaron Jones. You bring in Fields, you can compete now. It's like, I know we're just spinning our wheels here, but it's like, it's frustrating to me that I like JJ McCarthy, and I love Penix, but Fields was the better pick. You could still use the draft capital.
Yeah, but these teams, Smitty, they inquired about him. It was Poles that put such a high value on Fields. He wouldn't let him go for like less than a 2nd round or whatever, and it was just too high costly for these other teams, and so they backed out of it.
Yeah, but all you had to do is, if like an astute owner and decision maker would have still kept at it. I mean, are we all going to quit trying to make a trade with somebody because they're being stingy with it? Like, you come in and you say, I'll give you a 4th rounder, no conditional needed. Just take a 4th rounder for Justin Fields.
Here's the problem: Poles wasn't budging at first. So these other teams that needed a quarterback went elsewhere. Once they started filling their needs, then the teams,
in some cases,
the only teams
yes,
that were left. So that's how Pittsburgh got.
Yeah, but still,
this is why.
But still, he still could be had at backup pricing. Like, it doesn't matter if you even filled your room. The Miami Dolphins should have said, they're offering you a 6 conditional to 4. What is it that will make you, and we're not going to give you a 1st or a 2nd, so calm down. What will make you shake hands with us right now to send him to us without even being conditional? And they'd say, 4th rounder, no conditional. Just give us a 4th rounder no matter what happens. Done. The Miami Dolphins I understand what you're saying. Even teams that didn't have a need for quarterback, 30 teams absolutely crapped the bed. And in the Minnesota Vikings, I almost assure you that Fields would have not turned down that potential offer. And the Minnesota Vikings haven't drafted anybody yet. They still have a total opening to potentially make that move. Darnold's not holding Fields back. It's crazy to me.
Smitty.
Yeah.
This is why I said. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is why I said, Smitty, the other day on the phone line, this is why you can be a GM, because I don't think you're realizing, like, how many teams will just stop offering. I know you start high and meet somewhere in between and, whatnot, but there's a lot of teams that might have interest at first. They hear the price, and I guarantee you many teams were just like, okay, we're done. We're just not going to go and offer. Like, I don't think there are many teams who actually stayed persistent.
I heard from a few very, very connected people that Draft Day, the movie Draft Day, it actually is very accurate. like in how teams view things, how they operate, how weird it, like the trades that happen were not realistic, but the way that teams like talk about players, how it all goes down, and how they judge players for weird things, you know, like the no one attended his birthday party. I remember when that first came out, Bo Callahan, nobody attended his birthday party. I remember I almost spit up my drink and I was like, this is the dumbest premise I've ever heard in my life. But the more you hear about how teams operate, it's actually, there's a lot of truth to how almost dumb in a way. And I love the movie, by the way, but how dumb these organizations are with some of these decisions that they make. And the truth of the matter is, it would not surprise me at all if teams were treating Fields in ways that, like, you know, we're on the outside and we view it a certain way, but because another team doesn't want him as a starter anymore, this team's affected by that. And they're like, well, there must be something wrong with him. Or in the case where, remember when after in draft day, they trade away the pick or whatever, and the other GM calls and says, hey, we're going to maybe take, what's his name? What was the other guy's name that they were going to draft? I forget. But he's like, you already went up to get Bo Callahan. You were going to draft this guy. You can't get him anymore. Tell me why I shouldn't make this guy my pick. As if these owners are going to tell each other what they think. It was the dumbest, like, it was so crazy and silly that, like, these owners would have conversation and go, do you know anything about him? Is there anything I should know about? Like, you're going to help anybody out, but it sounds like that's the way this world works. It's crazy behind the scenes how these NFL teams talk, how they view players, how they, you know, if one doesn't go after Lamar, the other one doesn't go after Lamar. Like, Lamar not going for 2 first-rounders last year was asinine. And a lot of people said a lot of these teams and owners were, like, locking arms. I think Ron said that a lot. It's weird how some of these teams will behave with each other. It's so strange. It is so stupid. McCarthy is... Anyway, I would say this, and then we'll kind of end it on the McCarthy thing, and I got to get to these supers, and I might come back tonight. I might end the show a little bit early. Actually, it's not really early. We've been live for an hour and 15 minutes, but I would say this, Perps, I hope you get a quarterback. I hope it's not Sam Darnold. I hope that in some situation that feels like it's a travesty that McCarthy gets taken too early and you can't move up, that you get Penix Jr., and that's the better quarterback for you guys anyway. I think JJ is still going to potentially be interested in not being in Minnesota and be interested in being in Minnesota. I don't know that JJ is going to make any waves. I'm not saying he will. I just think people are assuming that he's happy with the situation when he requested Kirk Cousins' return and the Vikings didn't go get him. And I'm with you, Perps. I don't mind going toward the future, but you got to also like what are you doing with JJ? Is he happy? Will he sign a deal? Will he put up a little bit of a stink and make the Vikings entertain potential offers? Like, everyone acts like JJ can't get traded. He certainly can if the Cardinals were, let's say, a willing partner to give the 4 overall pick in Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I guess I'd ask that question is, would you rather have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Penix Jr., or would you rather have JJ on a $34 million, $100 million plus guaranteed deal with Penix Jr.? Like, what do you prefer as a fan?
Well, I got a number of things I want to say here, but I'll address that first. I would rather have Marvin Harrison and Penix than JJ. JJ can go. He's played. I mean, I don't want to get rid of him, but I would take that deal over just one guy at a huge contract.
Yeah.
Because now he's got to put up, for how many years is that contract going to be?
Yeah.
6, 7, 8.
So, I probably
say he got injured. He got injured this year and had some issues. So who says that doesn't happen again?
Hey, on the right side, Perps.
Hold on, real quick. Perps is going to say something. One other thing. Go ahead, Perps.
As far as the Fields thing go, I asked you like a week or two ago, and then I haven't been able to tune in much because I've been super busy with work and life. But I thought there was talk out there that there was a lot of teams interested, and Paul basically gave everyone the finger and just went with the 4th round pick and dealt them and was done with it.
6th round
and
pick.
Then he didn't want to trade within the division. or 6.
Yeah.
6 that could be a 4th.
Yeah, I don't know
because
if
I had mentioned to you that same night about trading in the division because I had read an article from one of the local people here that Poles didn't want to trade with the Vikings because he didn't want to do in division trading.
Yeah.
And then you kind of shot that down and said, no, they're going to move whoever they got to move. But I thought Fields would have been a good thing. But in order to keep Justin Jefferson here, yes, he asked for Kirk Cousins, but he asked for Kirk Cousins because Kurt looks for him primarily over anyone else and throws him the ball and can throw him the deep ball. And that's what JJ wants. And so if you can't bring a quarterback in to replicate that, I don't know that Jefferson doesn't push the envelope to get traded.
Yeah, and all he has to do is push it a little bit. I'm not saying that these players only have so much control, but if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you're like, is he going to sign a long-term deal with us? And it's like he's going to reject everything, until you get it to some astronomical number or something. Then the Vikings are going to say this isn't feasible for us. We can't. How are we going to build a healthy team around him? And so JJ initiates okay, well, let's just see what happens, okay? He requests a trade. Let's grant it. Let's see what his market is. And then the Cardinals come a knocking, and they offer an offer that the Vikings never entertained in their mind. And they're like, well, and that's how that all happens. That's how Tyreek Hill got traded.
Yeah.
So as much as people want to pretend it can't happen, it almost certainly can. Is it likely? I don't know. I mean, we don't even have a percentage on that. We're totally guessing whether it's likely or not. Like how much percentage, if I had to throw a number at it, that JJ gets traded 10%. But that's still a big number when you consider,
If he wanted to stay there, he would have signed already. He's waiting for something, or he's not happy. So ultimately, at the end of the day, that 10% could go up higher depending on what moves are made in this draft.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, though, that I didn't hate Kirk Cousins as much as Ron thinks I did. It's time to move on from him and start fresh. But they got to do it right. They can't be the Minnesota Vikings of old and keep drafting duds. We need to draft a quarterback, which I know it's obviously you're shooting in the wind. They have to be able to show up and produce at an NFL level. I mean, look at, again, Tom Brady. He didn't look like he was the part, and look what he did. So, the Vikings have to draft someone.
If I had to predict where Perps is at, because I know Ron's scratching his head going, how could you not want Kirk Cousins? But, I understand where Perps is at. Achilles injury, he's older, and Perps, as a Vikings fan, has been enduring the same repetitive type of situation. And Perps is willing to risk it all to maybe get his Stroud. But the problem is, do you think McCarthy could be that, or do you not? Because he's looking, if the Vikings move up, they're moving up to get McCarthy. That feels pretty evident. If they don't get him, I feel good enough with Penix Jr. maybe being your Stroud. I don't know that he will be. Stroud is on a whole nother level. I don't think he, maybe or maybe not, that he could be even near that. I don't know. I'm not going to rule it out, but I certainly would say it's a tall order to ever, in the next, handful of drafts, to have somebody become as good as Stroud, because Stroud's in conversations of being 1 to 5 overall, not just 5. So, but can you get close to a Stroud? Can you find a Stroud? And Bo Nix shouldn't be ruled out as that guy. He could be. He's got a lot of risk, but Bo Nix is a fantastic prospect. But I don't think McCarthy's Stroud. I think McCarthy at his best will be Goff, which is good. But I don't think Goff's going to, despite what Goff's done in the past.
Goff or Stafford.
I don't think Goff in this scenario you want something better. I don't mind taking the risk, I guess, as a Vikings fan perspective. But, I don't know what in the hell is going to happen, man. I don't. JJ's is the toughest player to rank right now. Even though there's only a certain range you would let him drop to, no one's going to let him drop past 6 or 7 overall in a redraft draft. But I don't even know if I'm getting a steal at 5, or if I'm going to win a league because I get JJ at 5 or 6. It feels like I have to be right. It feels like it, but you don't really know. JJ survived QB carousels last year. He did good, but is he going to be number 1, number 2, number 3 overall worthy? No, that's why he's not going there. Is he going to get you 6, 7 value overall, no matter who's throwing, no matter what kind of rotation they got going? Probably, but it's not guaranteed. JJ in Arizona. Is everybody on the phone line in agreement that JJ in Arizona would probably be back to the number 1 or number 2 overall pick?
Well, yeah, because they have Tyler. He's not going to play it for the next year or two.
So I think
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so 1, 2 overall. If JJ gets McCarthy, how high can he climb? Like, let's say tomorrow morning we knew JJ McCarthy. If we could even fast forward to the NFL draft, if JJ's the quarterback, does he climb from 6 or 7 into 5 or 4? You know, I don't know, and I'm not saying JJ's a bust. Again, I don't want anybody to come away with this from this live stream saying Smitty's a hater on JJ McCarthy. I think Goff's a very good comparable. That's a very good quarterback. But I don't think JJ moves into... I don't think because it's going to take time to get him there. I don't think JJ in redraft with McCarthy, maybe dynasty, but in redraft, I don't think he moves up more than 1 or 2 spots from where he is now, where it's ambiguous. We don't know who his quarterback is. I don't know. There's no way to know that Jamar Chase isn't going to blow him out of the water, or JJ's still going to figure it out.
Yeah, and the big move is going to be if these teams that are below Arizona, you know, the Vikings, the Giants, if they want to trade up to get someone, you know, better, if they're willing to make that move with Washington or New England or Arizona, if any of those teams are willing to move and what they need as far as these people slide. And then if the true Bo Callahan slide on, you know, the mama's boy is going to happen. But you know, ultimately, I foresee Justin Jefferson staying in Minnesota and the Vikings, just because of what they've been putting out there, they want McCarthy, but I would rather have Penix if it was between those two. So
you know what would be interesting? Okay, so does JJ have more value, perps, to you in trying to separate yourself from the fandom here? JJ with McCarthy in Minnesota, better fantasy football receiver than JJ inserted into Pittsburgh right now with everything that's going on there?
In Minnesota, because I just don't trust Arthur Smith.
Ron?
I don't know. I don't know what the quarterback controversy of Pittsburgh has.
I think Fields takes it,
so
but like you still don't know. Like Pickens is there.
I think both, no matter whether it's Fields or whether it's Wilson, they both have strong arm. They both can get him the ball. I mean, look. Wilson did it with up in Seattle all day long. So
yeah,
but he didn't do anything in Denver with it.
So
scramble.
So, but the thing is, I don't see JJ ever going to the Steelers because they're not going to pay him that much money.
Yeah, it's one of those teams rumored. So I'm just trying to get a evaluation. Okay, so let's do this one. Actually, let me go to Aurora. Quick answer, please. I know you're a McCarthy guy, right? You were, right? I think you were the one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I like
okay,
him,
so McCarthy. Okay, McCarthy, you'd rather have him. Okay, JJ to the Bengals for Higgins and 2 first-rounders. Let's just say that flew. Okay, I'm not saying it will, but that's the rumor people throw around a lot. 2 first-rounders. Higgins goes to the Vikings, and they sign Higgins to a long-term deal, which is ridiculous, but they do it. And now you got JJ, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. Now Joe Burrow's value goes through the roof. Like, just through the roof. Like, this guy could have 50 passing touchdowns in 2024. Like, it's just, Joe Burrow goes through the freaking roof. Jamar Chase, I don't know what happens to his value, to be frank. JJ, I think, gets his probably even more than Chase gets his. I probably. But does anybody feel like Jamar Chase goes down if from the Minnesota McCarthy scenario in Minnesota, or the Joe Burrow situation? The reason I would say there's not even a question in my mind it doesn't go down is because you still have Hawkinson, Addison, and a quarterback that I don't know is like a gunslinger. So it's there's a lot of, but I do know that he'd be the primary target. Over in Cincy, it would be a little bit more like crazy, but Joe Burrow in that offense, they feed enough, they water the plants enough that everybody's going to get their beak wet. But what do you guys think on that one? Let's start off with Ron, then Aurora, then Perps, and then I gotta go.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it'd be kind of hard to get anybody in there that could put the ball around like Cousins did. So, I mean, that's reality. I mean, there's not that many quarterbacks that come in the league and
Come
you
on,
know, you
show
got
Burrow.
Mahomes, you got Burrow,
All right.
that can spread the ball out several receivers and successfully. There's very few.
We're not going to convince Ron that Burrow can hang with Cousins. No matter how bad we want to, let's just move on from that debate.
Well, here's the thing.
It's an uphill battle.
I wanted to say one more thing.
It'd be like talking to a
one more
wall.
thing to Perps. Perps, there is a bright side, Perps. You will get the absolute pleasure watching Cousins take Atlanta to the Super Bowl this year. So that is an upside for you.
Ron just sharded all over Burrow. He's like, if the Bengals had a capable quarterback that could hang with Cousins, I could see JJ having a yeah, Ron just took a dump right on Burrow's grave. Okay, Perps, final thoughts on this, and then I'm gonna let Aurora talk, and then I gotta jump. I'll be back tonight though.
Yeah, no, as far as Cousins goes, Ron, he wore out his time here, just like Rick Spielman did. And they have to do something different, so hopefully they do. But it's not that Cousins was a bad quarterback and he couldn't throw JJ the ball anymore. It was just you can't pay him that kind of money to have the results that he's giving us. You don't play to just get through the season. You play to get to the Super Bowl, and Cousins wasn't going to get the Vikings
Wouldn't you
there.
say
If he gets
Atlanta,
Atlanta there, awesome.
You're putting it all on Cousins, but wouldn't you say the year you guys went to the playoffs 2 years ago, what was it? Was it Kirk Cousins' fault, the failure, or was it more that you have your 32nd ranked defense that couldn't stop nobody?
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
You know,
It had nothing.
yeah, but
to do with
that's what I'm
Cousins'
getting
fault.
at, though, is that well, it does. It does though, because look at Mahomes. Look at the great quarterbacks out there. Those teams have decent defenses or great defenses to get there, but a great quarterback can overcome some of those weak parts, and we just can't do that.
Not a
with
30-second.
Cousins is your steady Eddie guy that's just going to do enough to make the plays, but he's not going to be all shiny.
Ron, I will just say this.
He went down in NFL history as the biggest comeback in NFL history of any game ever.
I know, Ron, but let me just say this to kind of defend what Perps is trying to say. Not saying I don't love Cousins in Atlanta. It's absolutely glorious. Okay, I love it. But you could almost liken Cousins to Tomlin. Tomlin is so successful, but he is not getting it done at the end of the day for you.
No, don't even go there.
No, it's a very good example. It's a very good example, Ron.
Don't do that.
Yeah, Smitty, that's a good comparison.
It's Ron. It's a fantastic example.
No. You're trying to get me spun up.
No,
You're doing a good job.
no, Ron. I'm not trying to get you spun up. Ron, think of the logic of what I'm saying, though. Just listen to what I'm saying. Tomlin, on its face, everyone's saying Tomlin's. How could you not want Tomlin? We take Tomlin
on paper.
But yeah, on paper he's fantastic. But you're saying Tomlin is not getting it done. And so at the end of the day, what Perps is saying, I'm not saying that you have to agree with Perps. I'm trying to tell you the comparison in his mind. I'm the psychologist. I'm the mediator here. Okay? Perps is trying to tell you that while you're correct, Cousins is fantastic on paper. He keeps delivering season after season, best comebacks, all that stuff. At the end of the day, Perps isn't happy with the end result, and he's willing to risk it all to go find another option that could maybe close it out. Just like you're willing to risk it all.
You feel if Minnesota would have had a defense, if Kirk Cousins would have had a defense like Kansas City or Cincinnati or Cleveland or San Francisco or even Philadelphia, any one of those teams, if he would have had a defense like that, you don't think he could have went to the Super Bowl with Minnesota? Hell yeah, he would have.
Just like the Minneapolis Miracle when we had Favre in his second time here.
All I'm trying to tell you, that's how Perps is viewing
it,
Ron.
But it didn't happen.
I'm just telling you that's how Perps is viewing it. He believes that Kirk Cousins, as great as he can be, during the season, as great as he could be. There's a reason why there's a perception of Kirk Cousins is good in this situation, but bad in that situation. All the memes of, is it a dome? Is it a home game? Is it an away game? Like Kirk Cousins has all these little memes about that stuff. And I'm not saying that they're all fair, and I'm not saying he's not going to go and explode in Atlanta. Okay, and Ronnie's got he's got
a good defense.
He's got a defense, so yeah, it's going to be a whole different ball game. But to what Perps is saying, whatever the case may be, Cousins and what Cousins can do, capable of carrying a team with a bad defense, capable of being that guy, Perps wants to take a risk on somebody else. That's all he's saying. And I respect it and I understand it. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it.
Yeah,
but
JJ in Minnesota, he's wore out his welcome, and it's time for him to go somewhere else and take his count. He's fleeced enough teams to make the money he makes to give up the performance he gets.
Okay, last thing I'll say is this.
Able to win a Super Bowl in Minnesota.
Last thing I'll say is this. I think at the end of the day, the best, if I was the Vikings, you know what I would do? And this may not work, it may not fly, but McCarthy's got so much value right now. I would literally be hounding Harbaugh and saying, give me Herbert. Give me Herbert. Here's the 11. Here's the 23. Here's a future first rounder. Here's 3 first rounders, 2 of which are in this draft right here. 3 first rounders for Justin Herbert. Let Justin Herbert throw to JJ. And it's not that crazy of a situation, because if Harbaugh loves this man so much, JJ McCarthy, how hard do you think it is to convince him to consider something like that? Like, at least to entertain it. That's what I would do. All right, hey, I got to go, guys. Appreciate you.
Can I answer that Justin Jefferson question?
Real quickly, bro. Real quickly. I'm going to hang up in 30 seconds.
No. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, no, I mean, I just think it's not even a debate. If you talk about who's throwing them the ball and they got a better O-line, I mean, you would take Burrow 100% in that. So, yeah, Justin Jefferson with Jamar Chase and you throwing Gesicki there, I mean, that offense is going to be lethal. So, yeah, give me Cincy all day for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. All right, bro. Appreciate you. We'll see you guys later. See you guys later. Ron, calling tonight.
Yep, see you guys later.
All right, later. Good talk.
See you, Ron.
Okay, let's get real quickly to these super chats. I know some of them were just reading them. Aurora, you're still here, obviously, because you were just on the phone. The Real Brett, I hope you're still here. Real Brett, you still here? And Bros Pros, I'm sorry I didn't read your super chats yet. I told you I'd make a point to read these right away, and that's on me. I'll do it moving forward. Crying after you destroy your wrist is not the same as crying into your mother's lap in public after you lose one too many games. That is, I agree with that, Bros Pros. I think when people start saying that what I'm saying about Caleb crying the way he is very different than shedding a tear or even crying a lot. If you injure yourself, you know, you got the towel over your head. That's usually you do that when you're crying. You don't want anybody to see it. You know, pro athletes don't mind crying and showing emotion when they lose. It's not a big deal. I don't judge anybody. I could even have my quarterback, my field general, cry because they're so emotional about losing the game. I wouldn't. Joe Burrow, you know, is not going to weep. Maybe he sheds a tear, you know. Like, you cry in emotion? Do you have emotion? Yes. But do you crawl into mama's lap? It's just different. It's just different, especially in the stadium, in the front row, you know, in front of everybody. And it's different. You can't. $10 hauler perps to the moon. Gifted memberships over and over. Thanks, man. Smitty production value is through the roof. By far the most entertaining FF content available. Real Brad, are you still here? I'm sorry it took me so long to read that. I hope you're still here watching, pal. Next time I will get to it sooner, I promise you, and I appreciate the compliments. And then Aaron, hopefully Aaron's still here. Some people don't have self-awareness about Caleb Williams and his red flags. Yes, he has all the talent to be great. I don't see him overcoming that. I agree with you 100%, and I couldn't say it any better. Like, he's got all the talent in the world, and I think we need to keep reminding people that he does have that amazing amount of talent. You can't take that away from him. Zach Wilson had a lot of talent too. Zach Wilson looked phenomenal at his pro day. I'll see you all tonight. Appreciate you. hit that like button on the way out the door. Thank you, Ron, for dropping what you always drop. Thank you, Perps, for the multiple gifted memberships tonight and every other night. Kevin dropping this. Think JJ holds out. Justin Jefferson, could he? It's possible that there's something that brews and he requests a trade. It's a very possible scenario later because he's not happy. But maybe he loved JJ McCarthy's workout and that made him kind of think, you know what, maybe we'll be okay. I'll kind of stay quiet right now. But JJ's going to get like a massive offer. We're hearing something along the lines of 33 to 35 million annually. Probably something in the 100+ million guaranteed territory. And to put that in perspective, Ridley just signed a $92 million, $50 million guaranteed deal that paid him $23 million annually. Ayuk, top 6 to 12 wide receiver. That's a big range because everybody views him differently. He's thought to sign not much more than Ridley, like maybe $24 million a year, something along the lines of $95 to $100 million, maybe $50, $55 million guaranteed. Ridley's deal was certainly help shape and set up Ayuk's deal, but Ayuk's deal and JJ's deal are light years apart. And so if JJ does somehow sign an extension before Ayuk is going to naturally want to put his numbers at least higher and get closer to the sun. He won't get near JJ's, but he's certainly going to be like, I'm worth way more than 23 mil now. If JJ got 35, you know? DeBolt, appreciate you. Caleb, QB6, especially in Chicago. I still appreciate you, pal, and it's okay that we view that differently. Especially the Chicago part, I 100% just don't feel the same way about. But it's okay. It's okay to have different opinions, and I'm wrong all the time. That could be one of the things this year that I'm dead wrong about will be Caleb Williams. And maybe I'll weep and sob on this show. Maybe that's my commitment to you, is I will sob on this show if I'm wrong about Caleb Williams. I'll see you all later. Appreciate you. Deuces. Thank you for my super chatters. Again, DeBolt, Kevin, the real Brett. I hope you heard my response. Aaron Swarm, I hope you heard my response. Bros Pros, I hope you're still here. Sick Nasty, thank you for your super chat. And Rock Out dropping the first super chat, and then Perps dropping all those gifted memberships. Thank you all. See you all later tonight on some level, whether it's the Dynasty channel or whatnot. Perps gifting another 10 memberships. What a monster. Perps to the moon. Perps to the moon.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Perps doing it again. Doing it live. Doing it all the time. This man never stops. This man is like Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow. As cool as can be. Perps, I picture Perps sitting back in a chair with a Joe Burrow cigar, lighting it up, and right when the live stream's about to end, the live stream's about to end, I'm about to hit the button, without even hesitating, Perps goes, 10, that show ain't ending yet. Lights up the cigar, Smitty comes back. It's unbelievable. Later. Be back tonight.